Greetings in the name Yahweh, the only name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. This Brother Arnold again, preaching and teaching that there's only one name under heaven for salvation. One name in the world, Acts 4:12. But I want to talk to you about a warfare that we're in against the Antichrist, the people that don't believe that Yahweh Almighty, Creator of heaven and earth, come in the flesh. And in any warfare, you want to try to take away the finances of the opposers, just like you would Iraq. They try to destroy their finance, just like them people that's riding, Kifa, whatever they call them. Any warfare. Right now, I want to try to give you some scriptures and show you that you shouldn't support these preachers. I call them money-grubbing preachers. They're after filthy lucre. But there's a verse of scriptures found in Proverbs 22:16, which says, "He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall both surely come to want." That's telling me that if you take from the poor to increase your riches, like many of them do, but here's the catch, and he that giveth to the rich, in other words, if you give to the rich, you and those that take from the poor are going to both surely come to want. So you do not want to give to these money-grubbing rich preachers. Now, they'll come out and they'll twist the scriptures on you to get money. One preacher here a while back, he's talking about God was going to kill him if he didn't get up so much money. They come up with anything and everything. Have you ever heard them say, "The Lord loves a cheerful giver," wanting you to give to them? And they twist that scripture to make it say something that it's not saying. The Apostle Paul is saying, when he said, "For the Lord loves a cheerful giver," talking about Yahweh, he's talking about the collection for the saints, not from the saints. They was collecting for the poor saints at Jerusalem. And he was telling them that he don't mean that other men be eased and others burdened. He's saying he that sowed sparingly, in other words, if you sowed a small crop or garden or whatever, then reap sparingly. But they'll turn that around and say, if you give sparingly, you're just going to reap sparingly. They saying, give to me abundantly and you'll reap abundantly. But that ain't what Paul's teaching. They put it right backwards of what it's saying. If you sowed sparingly, reap sparingly. And if you sowed a bunch or bountifully, reap bountifully. Don't give grudgingly or of necessity. He said, "For the Lord," or Yahweh, "loves a cheerful giver." In other words, if you can't give it cheerfully, don't give it. He don't want you giving your light bill money. And preachers will take it. They'll take it. But anyhow, and a lot of them's rich. I purposed in my heart to never take no money for preaching and teaching Yahweh's word. Now, I know it's in there. You know, the Bible teaches, don't muzzle the mouth of the ox that treadeth out the corn, the laborer's worthy of his reward, and so forth. But Paul said, I use none of these lest I should hinder the gospel. And it's a hindrance to the gospel. Now, talking about both shall surely come to want. Now, we don't want to come to want, so quit giving to them. Isaiah 56:10 talks about his watchmen are blind. His referring to Yahweh. He said they're all ignorant. They're all dumb dogs. He calls them dumb dogs. They cannot bark. In other words, they won't warn you when trouble's coming. they lying down, loving to slumber. They're lazy. They want one of the congregations to cut their grass. He says, yea, they are greedy dogs. Now he calls them greedy dogs. These are not my words. This is in Isaiah 56:11. They're greedy dogs. He said they can never have enough. He said they're shepherds that cannot understand. Most of them don't understand what they're even talking about. And they all look to their own way, everyone to his gain from his quarter. In other words, they want their quarter. They're wanting their percent or quarter, 10%, whatever. There's nothing wrong paying tithes. I believe you. Scripture teaches paying tithes. But he tells them in Malachi, I think it's 3, he said, this commandment is to you, O priest. Talk to the preachers. You ever heard them say, will a man rob God? And they say, how and we robbed it? And they said, in tithes and offerings. He said, you've robbed this whole nation. In other words, he said, bring the tithes into my house, into the storehouse, that my house might have food. In other words, it's not all to go in the preacher's bank account. Read it for yourself. I think it's Malachi 3:1, and then you get on the 4th chapter of Malachi. That's the one they talk about. Will a man rob God? And right there, robbing the whole nation is, he's not going to bless their crops so that they could put it in their bank account. He said, but if they would do what they're supposed to do, that he would pour out a blessing that their storehouses wouldn't even be able to hold. In other words, the people have so much, then when they give their 10th, their storehouse won't hold it. But by the way they're not bringing it into the storehouse, he's not going to allow that to happen. So they're getting robbed also. But the commandment was to the preachers, the priest, it said. You know, there's qualifications in the New Testament. I think it's Titus, 1 Timothy 3:3, I think it is. He gives the qualification of a preacher or bishop. He said he's got to be blameless, not given to wine, no striker, nor greedy of filthy lucre. Calls it filthy lucre. And so forth. Not covetous or brawler and so forth. He says in one place, they're full of extortion and excess. Extortion and excess. You know, extortion is when you tell people, God's going to get you if you don't give me your 10% or this, that, the other. All these woes is going to come on to you. But in Matthew 23, he said, woe unto you scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites. He said, for you pay tithes of every little mint, cunning, and anise. Talking about every little leaf, they would give a 10%, a tenth of it. And he said, but they've omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, faith, mercy. He says, these ought you to done and not leave the others undone. In other words, you ought to done it, but don't leave the other undone. And what do? They want to do away with the law. They're lawless. And he calls it that they blind guides. He said they're straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel. The gnat, he's comparing tithes like a gnat to a camel. Camel represents the law. The gnat is paying the tithes. He swallowed a gnat. Swallow a gnat, strain at a gnat, swallow a camel. You know, he said, told them to make clean the inside of the cup and so forth. He said they're full of extortion and excess. That's what he had to say about his shepherds being greedy dogs. So you can see why many years ago I purposed in my heart to never take no money for preaching, teaching Yahweh's word. Yahweh's blessed me. They said, well, Brother Arnold, that might be easy for you. They can say that now because you're rich. Oh, I didn't start out rich. I went down on the streets of Atlanta with our assembly, our church. We had a little broke down Honda. I had 7 children, me and my wife. That's all we had. I worked and labored with my own hands, like Paul said to that. And he has blessed me over the years and made me rich. I'm in the septic tank business. I keep up the dung gate. And you know that when Yahweh can take and make a man rich off of dung by blessing the works of his hand, he said, I'll bless you. Whatever your hands touch, prosper. I'll bless you going out and coming in. But my point for this whole thing is, quit giving to them people, because you'll surely come to want. I tell people, if they believe what I'm preaching and teaching, don't send me your offering. Go help somebody. Go make some tracts and get them out, because what they're doing ain't right. They're not bringing them tithes into the storehouse. They're putting it in their bank account. The majority of them. They may be some out there. I don't know any, but they may be some out there that's doing right. And some people just don't know. It don't mean that everybody knows what they're doing. It's just what they were taught. But deep down, people know a preacher shouldn't live no above the congregation and off of their money, you know. But anyhow, that's about all I want to say on that right now. This goes on and on and on, but it just dawned on me to tell you that don't give that preacher he's not, when the Messiah was watching them take up an offering and said that widow woman, she gave her last mite, and she had give more than all of them. In other words, out of their abundance, they put in a lot more than her. But out of her little, she gave it all. So he's not looking at how much she give. He was looking at how much he had left over. So, you know, they had a lot left over. She didn't. But he blessed her. And I believe y'all will bless a cheerful giver. But if you can't give it cheerfully, if you don't have a lot to give, don't give a lot. If you have a little to give a little. That's what Paul was talking about. Go over and read and search it out for yourself. I didn't have it wrote down where it's at. I do like the good old Baptist. I say, well, it's in there somewhere. You go read it for yourself. I think most people know that what I'm saying so. But go to my website at Lunar Sabbath. That's spelled lunar, L-U-N-A-R, Sabbath.info, like information. And look at my other articles on how we have inherited lies and vanities and things where there's no profit. There's no profit in lies. But till next time, may Yahweh bless you. And you see me how to walk in here and sit down, and then I'll have to get up and go cut this thing off. I'm really practice. I ain't been on YouTube very much, but I want to get on. I'm going to start doing more and sharing some truths that you're not hearing in these churches. But you go to my website, lunarsabbath.info, or just type in Brother Arnold Bowen, B-O-W-E-N, Arnold Bowen, and just look for yourself and see if what I'm saying so or not. If they had to search the scripture to see if what Paul was saying was so or not, surely you should search and see if what Brother Arnold is saying is so or not. Anyhow, till next time, may Yahweh bless you. Shalom.